Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. May Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai's peace be bestowed unto you, hopefully elect. I'm your brother Yobakal from Great Millstone, Orlando. And, just to sound the alarm, put this out there. This is one of those things. It could be something, it could be nothing. But nevertheless, as watchmen and, standing on our watch, standing on a tower, and just being watchful of all things. Because again, this could lead to something. It could lead to nothing. Like it says here in Sirach, Ecclesiasticus 5:15, be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or small. And initially what caught my attention dealing with this subject of matter was the fact that your boy Donald Trump, because of this little mess dealing with this whole redistricting of Texas, basically, and this is why I have this video here, Lord willing. I'm going to play this video, get a better understanding dealing with these Democrats in Texas, because basically they're describing this as a like a staring competition, and basically who's going to blink first, right? Because with this little fiasco, basically the Democrats in Texas fleeing the state, and Trump threatening to get the FBI involved. So that's pretty much what initially grabbed my attention, dealing with the subject of matter, and maybe do some studying, looking into it. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to play this video, Lord willing, just to get some better understanding of this redistricting of Texas. Basically, Trump is trying to make Texas a Republican state. So, like I said, man, this could be something, could be nothing, but nevertheless, it's better to know about it than to not know about it. So, without further ado.
Last week, Texas Republicans unveiled a new gerrymandered congressional map that would boost the party's chances at next year's midterm elections, a move encouraged by President Trump, who faces the prospect of the Democrats retaking control of the House of Representatives. This has sparked a major political battle. Dozens of Democratic lawmakers have fled Texas in an attempt to prevent the adoption of the new maps, and Democrat-led states like California have threatened to redraw their own congressional boundaries to negate any Republican gains in Texas. So in this video, we're going to explain Trump's push to gerrymander the 2026 midterms, the Democrats' plans to try and out-gerrymander him, and why it's so important. Have you ever wondered how much money TLDR makes each year? Or who's funding our journalism? Well, we think transparency is super important. So we answer both questions in our recent video. It's linked in the description. To get things started, it's worth explaining how redrawing congressional boundaries, a process called redistricting, usually works. It normally happens once every 10 years, as states redraw their congressional maps using fresh census data to account for population changes. The last round was carried out back in 2021 to 2022 using 2020 census data. So, in theory, the next round isn't due for at least half a decade. The process varies state by state, but in most, it's the state legislature with primary control, meaning that the party in control of that state shortly after the census wields considerable control over the drawing of the map. For those who don't know, gerrymandering refers to the manipulation of constituency boundaries to favour one party or group over another. It's how you end up with bizarrely shaped districts like this in Illinois, a pretty heavily gerrymandered state favouring the Democrats, or big Democrat voting cities like Nashville, with no dedicated representative because it's been carved up and split between several wider Republican-held districts. So, last week, Republican lawmakers in Texas unveiled their new draft congressional map that gives Republicans the chance to pick up 5 additional U.S. House seats. Currently, Republicans make up 25 of the 38-strong delegation that Texas sends to the U.S. House, while Democrats make up the other 13. Under the new proposed map, Republicans would be favored in 30 congressional districts, and Democrats in just 8. This mid-decade accelerated redistricting is pretty extraordinary, and Governor Greg Abbott sought to justify the move by citing a letter from Trump's Justice Department, which claimed that several Texas districts were unconstitutionally racially gerrymandered. Trump, however, claimed that Republicans are entitled to 5 more seats, and is not really spinning this as anything other than a political play.
On Texas, how many more seats do you want the Republicans to draw?
5.
And then what if California, New York, Illinois, and other blue states
that's
decide to do
okay
this?
too, but 5. I think we get 5. And there could be some other states. We're going to get another 3 or 4 or 5 in addition. Texas would be the biggest one. And
So are you calling in for a complete redrawing of the congressional map ahead of next year?
just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats.
Now, 5 additional seats might not sound like much, but every seat really counts. Democrats only need to net 3 seats to retake the House. Plus, other Republican-controlled states like Missouri are also under pressure from Trump to redraw their districts, so the number could really add up. Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis has floated a mid-decade redistricting, and Ohio Republicans are eyeing additional seats as part of a legally mandated redistricting. Again, it's worth noting that, yes, both parties do gerrymander, but doing so outside the normal 10-year cycle, and seemingly at the explicit instruction of the president to boost his midterm chances, is not the normal state of affairs. Trump has...
So you see, because real quick, like they said, this is supposed to take place every 10 years. So this whole redistricting ordeal is not supposed to happen for another odd amount of years. But the narrative right now is the fact that so-called Negroes, or blacks and Hispanics, voting for Trump. This is why they're bringing this up. They're saying because there's an increase of, like I said, blacks and Hispanics voting for Trump, that they have to. This is why they're bringing this whole issue up, which how I look at it, because it's more division. It's more. They're adding more fuel to the fire, because, like I said, I initially started looking into this because, like I said, these Democrats that are fleeing the state of Texas. I don't know if they mentioned it in this video, but like I said, it's being said that Trump was threatening to get the FBI involved in basically getting these Democrats, to getting them back. These Democrats fleeing to other blue states. And Trump is basically going to again send these agents out to these other states, which that will cause more division because in these other blue states where these Democrats are fleeing, they're basically not going to back Trump up. So like I said, it's a whole shit show, right? And again, of course, the narrative being blacks and Hispanic votes, which, like I said, it always goes back to so-called Negroes and Hispanics. All right, he always has to throw that little curveball out there to blame Jake in some way, shape, form, or fashion. All right, so it's a whole shit show. But and with this whole Trump deploying National Guard troops, more and more, America is becoming America will become a martial law state. All right, because these what's going on in D.C. as well as other places right now, it eventually, as brothers have said, elders have said, it will spread like wildfire. All right, so that's why I say this is just more fuel to the fire. All right, because as the scriptures go into civil unrest, all right, which will lead to, one thing will lead to another, and there will be total martial law out here. So, I just thought the timing of this was rather interesting, looking at it from a spiritual perspective. But we're going to play some more.
Reason to fear losing control of the House of Representatives. Midterm elections almost always go poorly for the party of the incumbent president. Obama, Trump, and Biden all lost control of the House in their first midterms. So the 2026 midterms are a prime opportunity for the Democrats to break the Republicans' hold on Congress. A Democrat-controlled House could derail Trump's legislative agenda, launch investigations into any number of his actions, and ultimately impeach him. as it has done twice before. So what has the response been to Texas's redistricting? Democrats have variously condemned it as corrupt and cheating, but Texas Democrats don't really have many weapons to fight it with. So to prevent approval of the draft map by the state legislature, more than 50 Democratic lawmakers fled Texas to deny their Republican counterparts a quorum, i.e. the minimum number of lawmakers needed to conduct business. Many have headed to deep blue states like Illinois, where Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker said he would do everything he can to protect every single one of them. Texas's Republican Governor Abbott accused the fleeing...
So you see, like I just said, if Trump did send these agents or whatever to these different states to get these Democrats, these different blue states, they wouldn't support it. They wouldn't back Trump up. So more fuel to the fire.
Democrats of a dereliction of duty for also holding up progress on other legislation like flood relief, and said that he had ordered state troopers to locate, arrest and return to the House chamber any absent members, also threatening bribery charges against them in connection to donations they were allegedly receiving to help offset the $500 daily fines they face. The walkouts can delay, but probably won't prevent the adoption of the new map. History shows that previous walkouts to break quorum have had mixed results. For example, Democratic lawmakers left Texas in 2021 to protest Republican efforts to overhaul voting rules. But after nearly 5 weeks, several lawmakers returned home, quorum was reached, and the bill passed. If the new Texan map does get approved, the redistricting battle will escalate into a truly national one. Democrat-controlled states, most notably California and New York, have threatened to respond to Texas's Republican gerrymandering with their own reciprocal mid-decade gerrymandering. California Governor Gavin Newsom has set out a plan that would see the state's Democrat-dominated legislature draw up new congressional boundaries targeting 5 Republican incumbents, with the new map likely being put to voters in a referendum in November. Now, some Democrats, particularly in states like California, have increasingly embraced redistricting by independent commissions as a fairer, less partisan approach than line drawing by politicians. So a mid-decade political redistricting really does not align with what some Democrats have previously championed. Nevertheless, the gloves are apparently off, and Democratic governors like Newsom and New York's Kathy Hochul are openly embracing mid-decade gerrymandering as a necessary retaliatory tactic against Donald Trump. While each state faces legal and political hurdles, it's clear that this has escalated into a major national battle, a redistricting arms race with high stakes, control of the House of Representatives, and the ability to restrain or enable Donald Trump's presidency.
Of course, we want a fair playing field where everybody is playing by the same set of rules. That's no longer the case. Not with Donald Trump, not when he made a call to the governor of Texas and talked about finding 5 additional seats.
The playing field has changed dramatically, and shame on us if we ignore that fact and cling tight to the vestiges of the past. That era is over. Donald Trump eliminated that forever.
It's also provided Democratic governors like Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker, both potential presidential contenders, a prime opportunity to take the fight to Republicans and demonstrate their willingness and ability to take on Trump, helping set them up for potential presidential runs. Relatedly, Democrats have been stuck in a bit of a Trump-induced identity crisis, with much of the party's base frustrated at what it perceives as weak and ineffective leadership. This redistricting battle has seen Democratic leaders speak in increasingly existential terms and act more visibly and defiantly than they have previously. Effectively, they're saying that it's a losing game to try and beat Republicans by playing by the normal rules. If this more combative approach pays dividends, it could help shape the Democratic strategy over the coming years. All of this plays into a broader feeling coming out of America at the moment. At one time, the US seemed to be a steady, stabilizing force in global politics, but it appears that those days are over, with America's influence, popularity, and dominance on the decline. So in the next issue of our magazine Too Long, we're discussing this shift and the potential that we're currently observing the end of the American order. In that section, we discuss everything from the collapse of democratic norms in the US to the decline in American soft power, to issues with the US economy or the battle for universities, before discussing who could potentially take over in a post-America world. So if you want to find out what we really think, now's your chance. It's not just the US though. This issue is our longest ever at 78 pages, full of our very best.
So that's pretty much the point there. All right. Isaiah 19:11. Surely the princes of Zoan are fools. The counsel of the wise counselors of Pharaoh is become brutish. How say ye unto Pharaoh, I am the son of the wise, the son of ancient kings? Where are they? Where are thy wise men? And let them tell thee now, and let them know what the Lord of hosts hath proposed upon Egypt. The princes of Zoan are become fools. The princes of Noph are deceived. They have also seduced Egypt, even they that are the stay of the tribes thereof. And you see, for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and American Indians that continue to put your trust in this broken system. All right. You Because, you know, ultimately it's Yahweh Bashim Shai taking away the staff, stay bread. All right. You know, the scriptures talk about putting your trust in the shadow of Egypt. The shadow doesn't have any type of substance. All right. But our foundation is in Yahweh Bashim Shai. Because, again, this system is broken. All right. You know, more and more we're seeing people rise up. All right. These ex-military men, these men that so-called have fought for their country, coming on the internet crying, you know, because America's through, as the scriptures say, there is no balm for her womb. All right, this place is through, you see. And this is why, again, one thing is going to lead to another. There's going to be a sedition of men. People are going to take matters into their own hands. These people that are set up in these leadership positions, they're supposed to look out for the little man, so to say. You know, they're supposed to look out on behalf of the people. But they're fools, you see. But again, man, it's all fuel to the fire. Adding fuel to the fire for the civil unrest that's getting ready to take place. This civil war, like it tells you in this same chapter, you know, starting at the top. Right. But I'm going to go to this. Because like I said, I just found it rather interesting with what's going on as far as the you know, the mobilization of the troops and whatnot. All right. The timing of it all, you know, there is no coincidences. And Yahweh Shema Shabbat, man, you know, again, one thing leading to another. All right. Like I said, this could be something. It could be nothing, but hoping that it does lead to something. But nevertheless, it's better to know about it than to not know about it. So I'm going to just go to this. Because, you know, it is a whole shit show. It's a whole mess. Bear with me. In the book of Mark. You know, it's like Trump, man. He's outreaching himself, you know. Go to this in the book of Mark, chapter 3, in 24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against Satan, if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but have an end. And this is what we're seeing. All right, just more division, more fuel to the fire. All right, Yahweh Shema Shabbat. This leads to civil unrest, more civil unrest, which eventually, you know, America will plunge into another civil war, martial law, you know, and it's just steps closer into us getting the fuck up out of here, our deliverance, Lord willing. So I just wanted to put this out there, you know, what's going on, Lord willing. It was edifying, giving all praises to Yahweh Shai. Shalom to you, hopefully,